Okay, so our flats are completed, our dust flats, and the next thing we're going to do is actually uh, begin the session or start the session. Um, so we're going to lower the camera temperature to -20, which is typically what I use, and that'll be set for the duration of the night. We want to wait. We want to let that happen first because we're going to take some dark frames before the lights. So we want to make sure that the temperature is set properly, and you can see how the power obviously is going up as the temperatures as it's trying to cool it down. But once it gets down to the close to -20, you'll see that it starts to back off and usually settles in maybe around 50% or so, less as the temperature drops during the night. So as that's happening, we can see it's good weather, very low humidity, 12%. Dew point is really low, so shouldn't have a problem there. We also have the weather webpage open, and you see here's your all-sky camera completely clear. The other thing we're going to be keeping an eye on is this one called Seeing, which has to do with the astronomical seeing in arc seconds. And this is a recording from the previous night. It usually doesn't start with the recording. You see here it starts about maybe looks like around 8:45 or so. So we're going to want to keep an eye on that because we were hoping that it's going to drop to at least 2 arc seconds, and maybe we'll get really lucky and it'll be even better than that. So that's something that we keep an eye on there. So we see here that our temperature is just about set, and you can see the power is dropping now, already down to about 75%. And that's really the reason why I like to wait until the temperature drops a little bit before activating the coolant the cooling system to try and bring it down to the imaging temperature. So it looks like we're there now. Let's go back to autopilot, and let's go to so we're done with the flats. We want to make sure that it doesn't do that again. We're going to take 4 darks, and then let's take some bias frames. It doesn't matter what filter you use. I'm just keeping it at the H alpha just to save time, so it doesn't have to go through any filter changes. So we're going to take 20 bias frames, and then at 10 o'clock we're going to start the actual imaging. So you notice here that I don't have this focus box checked because I have that set up where I'm going to focus before the whole session begins. So how that works is if you're let's say you're doing multiple channels or different channels, let's say we did red after that, we're probably going to check that because we want it to refocus before starting on the red channel. But we are using focus offsets, and it knows that before the session starts, it's going to take focus frames with the luminance filter. And then we're going to do dawn flats like we said, so we're going to do those. And once we have all this set up, we're going to go to this 10 tab that says Run. And so the software records all your settings, tells you, okay, you're at about -20. And you see here we're now in the 50s in terms of percentages. So that's pretty good. I don't think the camera's working too hard. It tells you all the sessions starting as soon as I click the Run Session button. We're starting as soon as I do that. So what's going to happen is the dark and bias frames will start. We're doing 4 dark frames and then 20 biases. The dark bias frame should end about 9:30 or so, and there are going to be aborted in time for the light frames to start. So you see this this entry here says focus before target run, and that is true. So it will focus before the light frames start. The light frames are scheduled to start at 10 o'clock. We're doing 21 subframes at 900 seconds, and they should end around 4:10. We're going to take our dust flats, and it will park. The telescope will park once the session is complete. However, I will then close the roof the same way we opened it, just clicking on it. But when I get up in the morning and I look with the cameras and see that the telescope is parked properly, then I can go ahead and just do that myself. And again, I find that to be a lot safer than having the software do it without you being there to make sure that it works properly. So it looks like we're good. I'm going to click on Run Session now, and so it will then start the whole sequence for the evening. And you can see that the telescope tracking is turned off. It confirms that the guider and imager coolers are at -20, and it is going to start the dark frames pretty much right away, which you see here, exposing dark, 900 seconds, tracking is off, and I again position the focuser here. The Bollwood data is here. So the session has begun and will run until the morning, but we will check in again and I will show you how the actual imaging portion of it evolves with focusing and pointing, focusing, etc., which is interesting. So we'll be back just before the imaging session starts. That's going to be just before 10.